Two people wandering around the tracks of Europe looking for a podcast that suits their needs. Oli Meggitt and Martin Southall are those two people. With the ability to chat shit about RC cars for less than an hour with their bare hands. The Bench Chassis Podcast, the podcast with no name. Except for that one.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Bench Chassis On-Road podcast. We are still here, would you believe it or not? And as you may have noticed, this has come out at a slightly different time to usual. And we actually planned this. It wasn't a mistake, despite what you might think we do here. This is sort of quite well planned out. Because hopefully today is the day that most of you are now travelling to the first round of the 2026 ETS season in Apeldoorn in the Netherlands. Maybe you're already there when you're listening to this, or you're in the car, or I would say on a plane, but you probably can't listen to this on a plane unless you've downloaded it beforehand. But anyway, you're on your way to Apeldoorn to kick off the ETS season. So we thought, what better to do this week than to preview the ETS?
Yep, and that's exactly what's going to happen and is what's upcoming now. And in a socially awkward twist to this, I'm probably sitting in my car driving across, listening to this myself at the same time. So, there's just like cringy part for me. But I really, really hope you're going to enjoy this episode where we've spent a long time planning this. And logistically, this was a challenge to do. But I think this one is worthwhile. Stay tuned for what's coming next.
Absolutely. And when we thought about how we're going to preview the ETS and kicking off its 101st race to start the new season, we're like, how are we going to do this in the best way possible? And really, when we thought about it, there is only one way we could do this, isn't there?
Only one way we can do this. If you've not guessed by now, I think we're probably getting close to guessing who our guest is, and that is...
It is the one and only, the voice of the ETS and the voice of so many races around the world, the most experienced, the most famous name in RC probably. We're really honoured to have joining us in a few moments' time, the one and only Scotty Ernst.
Stay tuned. This will be good.
Here we go then. So it's the ETS preview for 2026. Scotty is going to talk us through. Let's find out how he thinks people are going to bend a chassis this year.
This is the Bench Chassis Podcast. Let's bring on a guest, shall we?
And here we are with our very, very special guest. Super excited about this one, but we have the one and only. We've got Scotty Ernst in the house with us as well today. How cool is that?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic to have the voice of the ETS with us here. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us, Scotty.
Thanks for asking me. Good to have a chance to chat with you and Martin and join the show. I listened to the show through the episodes that you have, and now I feel like I made the big time now. You know, as I get asked to be on it.
Oh, we've got a long list of people that want to be on it, and we jumped you up the queue a bit.
I think we made the big time. I think we made the big time by having Scotty on now, really, on our little old show. But, this is awesome. We've got, the voice of ETS and we've got the voice of ENS as well. So you can choose between them. I'm going to go with the voice of ETS today because this is what this episode's all going to be about. This is what's coming up.
Yeah. So, let's kick things off. You've spoken many times in the past, Scotty, about how the ETS kind of got started. And let's sort of roll back the clock to that time and those early days. And it was... I guess you've covered it. It was often a tricky start, and there was resistance from parts of industry as well, and to getting things started. But thinking about the positive bit, what was the time when you were kind of getting in ETS all up and running, where you kind of went, yeah, this is right, this is working now. We're getting momentum with it, and it's going to be something really good for the hobby.
Oh, that's a tough one because the first couple of years were so tough. When I pitched the idea to Uwe, I was at DHI Cup announcing a race, and Uwe was there with Mark. And, I pitched the idea, said, hey, would you want to partner with me and we do this? And then it started. And then the first couple of years, they were devastating was almost the right word because it was so hard to break out something new, so much pushback from the sanctioning bodies in Europe that they didn't want something new. So I would say 4 years, maybe. The first 2 years, 3 years, it was a struggle. And I got to give credit to Owen and Ocean at Red RC, because they were our partners, at the time, me doing the media and help them pump it out. And after the first couple of years, when we had lost so much money, and it's like any business, you're going to lose money when you begin it, but it was so tough because the costs were there, and then you're still pushing. And then Owen and Ocean, they said, keep pushing through. We're going to come out of the clouds here soon. And they were right that I want to say it was probably the end of the third year, maybe start of the fourth year, that things started clicking. We broke through the pushback from the sanctioning bodies, and that's when it really started, as you said, clicking, and people really saw, hey, this is kind of different. You know what I mean? We had 3 or 4 rules instead of a rule book, and some music playing and having fun, and it really resonated with people, something different, and then it really started moving forward.
Yeah, and we said that you built the series and had a lot of support from sponsors and things like that, companies across the industry from some of those early stages, and you said that it was often like a lot of the federations and maybe more the established races that didn't like, for whatever reason, what ETS was kind of coming along and doing something different there. And how important was it to have that support from industry and some of those big sponsors in the early days, just to keep the series really kind of alive, as you say?
It was essential to the success of it, to have the support of, since we were getting that pushback from the sanctioning bodies, to get the support from the industry was really key to having that support. Was really able to push us forward and things like that, and getting some of the rock star drivers to go, to have Victor, Mark, and Yillis, the Tamiya trio, back in the day. They were a big part of it, because those were some of the biggest names and that were going to every race, and having a Tamiya not really sponsoring the series, but still that name was attached to it with those guys running, and they were part of the series. But it was all the little pieces on that side of it that really helped it become successful.
Yeah, and I guess it was having those star names, as you call them, the rock stars, being part of it, that was really important as well, because as much as you can run a really successful race series without the pro guys, if you want to elevate the ETS to what it is today, and you get the media coverage and things behind it, you ultimately want to make sure you're attracting the star names into the races as well.
Absolutely, it's key. And back then, touring car was in its heyday, and Andy Moore was going all the races and all these guys, and it was really, really important to the growth of the series to have those guys be part of it. Not that the series, we've never tried to focus on those guys, but the regular guys that pay their way, they're just as important as having the pros there. But especially in those early years, having the marquee drivers at the event, and then having Red RC there writing about it, so that's what was seen around the world. It really, really helped elevate the series and put it on everybody's radar.
So it's probably fair to say then that ETS has grown into this. It's a machine. It's a real event everyone wants to go to, and it certainly has. What does ETS mean for the RC itself? There's so many events that are organised and run, and everyone that's been part of ETS or been to ETS has taken something away from that. I can say, sitting in my chair, that from the events I've been to ETS, is stuff I brought back and we put into our own race series as well. I'm sure Ollie's probably got the same thing. But when you look at it and you think ETS gives so much back in terms of its involvement and how it's set up, and is that something that you thought would happen, or is that something that, it's a proud moment that what you've presented is now not going to say the benchmark for everything, because everyone's got a different way of doing it, but it's certainly a blueprint and a roadmap for how successful series can be built and run, and that's where we are today. Is that something that you've ever thought about?
Oh, for sure, it's a bit of pride. There's no doubt about it. Uwe and I are, really proud of what we built up. And when we first started the series, it was 2000, I think, 2001, when Mike Reedy first asked me to kind of facilitate and direct and organize the relay race of champions that we held at the Tamiya track in America. And those were my early years of organizing high level events where everybody was there and there was media and there was marquee event. And I learned a lot through those years. And I try to take everything that I learned through that. Then my couple years of doing my IIC race in Vegas, I started that in 2005. So I took what I learned at the relay race with banner placement around the track and things like that. I tried to take that and I put that in Vegas, and then we elaborated on that, having a nice driver stand banner, because most races that you went to, if you look back at those days, the late 90s and everything, there was a few manufacturers' banners on the driver stand or pillared around the track somewhere and everything like that, but not really banners of the sponsors. Yeah. And I learned that from Mike Reedy, you know, in the early years. And like I said, I took that to Vegas. In Vegas, we had the track lined, and we did that, and we kind of moved that into that to try to make it not just a race, but an event, to make it special so people go and they feel like they're really part of something rather than just a weekend race. And then trying to take, I don't know how to say it right, you know, my style of announcing and race directing and stuff like that to try to make it fun. If you know, to the viewers and that are watching, if you're old school and, you know, you remember the races used to be very quiet, no talking, no, just the racers or, you know, things like that. And I think our sport is as exciting as watching MotoGP or, you know, NASCAR or Formula One sometimes, you know. Sometimes. You know, sometimes. So it's that exciting, and I'm excited that people enjoyed what we brought to be something different. And that was always the goal, to not have a lot of rules, to just make it simplicity being the key, having fun. You know, if we got to wait 30 seconds for some kid to put his last body clip on, so be it, you know, and things like that. Those little things I think were key, that it wasn't, it was supposed to be, it's a hobby and fun and a release from our regular work world that people want to go. And, you know, many times it was stressful and a lot of negatives. So we really worked to try to make it all about positive, about friendship. And we talked about ETS always being a family. You know, there's guys that have been running the series, you know, since the beginning that, you know, show up once in a while for it still now. And that's pretty amazing. And I think it's a testament to what we've tried to build to make it fun. And we all have good luck at races. Sometimes we have bad luck, but if you can focus on fun and the friendship that we have in the hobby, then I think that is what has gotten us this far through the years.
Absolutely.
I think what comes across quite quickly, and while we're doing this, and I've been thinking about questions coming into this, and there's ones I want to ask, and there's others you think that just flow naturally. And now is we talk about what has been birthed from ETS, and what we're recording right now is a direct result of ETS. Racing Lines RC exists because of going to ETS, and that started from commentary and the influence that your commentary had from being at an ETS and listening to the events. And then straight after that, we moved on to the video element as well and started videoing our own events in the UK and broadcasting them. And then, as you'll probably know, we also did the first episode of this podcast was recorded at ETS Dawn in January as well. So ETS was indirectly but directly also responsible for everything that we're doing right now as well. And that's all come from a testament to all the efforts that you've put together as well. So I thought we should thank you for that one as well, or commiserate with everybody else that you have to put up with me and Oli on a weekly basis now. But that was the inspiration to do this in the first place. You know, bringing that information out to the masses, showing people what we saw on the European stage and the great work you guys were doing, that we wanted to do that in the UK as well with our events and show what we're doing there as well. So thank you for that. And I'm pleased that we've got you here, because it just seems like a perfect circle for this episode as well.
Oh, we never ever thought that what we were doing was gonna transcend things, or we just wanted to have something different. But if there's a positive out of it, that people have found new joy in the hobby, organizers like yourselves have found inspiration in some little thing that we did or whatever, then it's again more to the positive side of the hobby, and that is only moving forward and making the hobby more enjoyable, because for some guys it's a business, you know what I mean? It's their job. For the Ronalds and the Marks and, you know, Mikhail and those guys, you know, it's their job to race and do the best they can. And if we can even still make it fun for them sometimes, obviously their stress level is far different than the average guy racing. But if we can still make it fun for them and still make it fun for the guy in the Z main, then it's great. And then if organizers like yourselves and others can find some inspiration, then I think it's full circle. As he said, it really it helps everybody, makes people enjoy the hobby more.
Excellent.
And you touched on people like Ronald and Mark and Mikhail there, and you know, they obviously really appreciate events like the ETS because it gives them, it's a promotion opportunity for them as well. It's a big race that they want to go and score a big result at, but also, you know, the teams are definitely realizing how valuable these events are, and that's maybe been one of the changes that I think I've personally seen. Kind of the first time I came to an ETS was 2010, I think it was. Kind of seeing how the race team element of things has definitely evolved. You know, in the early days, how you mentioned Tamir, then also Yokomo, they were really kind of supporting it and sending their factory teams, and that meant not just the drivers, but they would send mechanics and support staff as well. So it wasn't just the couple of team drivers they were supporting, it meant all the customers had that same access to people as well. And we've now seen that evolve with things like, you know, what Automatics and X-Ray and stuff like that are now doing similar sorts of things, where you've got people at the track there just to support their customers as well, and that's really a great opportunity for them to try and give something back as well. And ETS is kind of providing that platform for the manufacturers to really sort of promote their stuff as well and interact with their customers too.
It is, and that's a perfect point, Oli, is if you think about the early days to now, that, you know, there's teams there that, you know, have 30, 40 customers there running their product, and to have the engineers there for the teams, you know, to be able to help, you know, that really wasn't the way back in the day. The engineers might go, but they were there for the rock stars. But now, you know, you see Trish and all these guys, you know, they're just helping the average Joe on setting his Ackerman or things like that, you know, whatever. And that has helped the brands succeed also, in more sales and more recognition. So I think that side of the ETS has helped the manufacturers quite a bit. And, you know, I say this not to spotlight one, but if you look at Schumacher and what they've done now, if you rewind, well, now I couldn't even, you know, when did really start coming and Mikhail started doing everything, but we used to go to a race and there used to be a couple guys running Schumacher stuff, and then they brought Mikhail on board and he started having success, and then Trish and Andy would come to the races, whether it be EOS or ETS, and start helping, and then more and more and more. And there's always the joke, I don't know if it's a joke in Europe, but in America, like NASCAR, you know, win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Yeah,
and
that exists. Very.
Watching what Schumacher's been able to do on the behalf of Mikhail being out front and doing well with the brand, and them and Robin really going all in, I think has been one of the greatest testaments to going to support races and things like that. And now we go to an ETS race and there's, you know, 30, 40 guys there with Schumacher. And, you know, X-Ray has always been strong, and they were always there with a ton of people. Then Automatics came on the scene with Max and the guys, and they started getting more and more. So these teams have grown, and it really, I think the average customer that buys this stuff at the shop and then go to this race, and he can sit at the end of the table, you know, down from, you know, Alexander Hagberg or something like that, and he can go over there and talk to them. That's a big part of it. And I think in the early years, maybe the pro drivers were looked at maybe a little bit differently, more up on a pedestal. People were afraid to go. Yeah. But with the introduction of social media and stuff like that, you know, guys like Alex doing all his videos and stuff like that, you know, people have a connection with him, and then I think they're not as intimidated to go up and see him and, you know, ask him, you know, hey, how do you do this? Or I watched that video. So I think it's just another big part of ETS that you can go there, be with the pros, get support of your brand, and again, just one of the many little pieces of the puzzle that has made it a success.
So when we look at ETS and how it has changed the industry, and it's propelled things forwards, but you're like the first to be brave and bold and do these things, control tires, hand out electrics and additive, and before that had never been done, and it's obviously proven to be very successful. You've got all the control classes are absolutely full. You've got hundreds of people taking part in them, and then you've still got the modified as well. So was that something you saw as like a natural evolution, or that just came around as an idea to try something and see what happened? Was there a direction that you thought that would happen with? That makes sense. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it evolved in some ways by itself, but again, I can just use from my experience to what I did for my events back in America and things like that, and try to put that in that I saw work. But as there became more and more choices out there for tires and additive and motors and things like that, I think the need to try to keep the cost down and make still fun and accessible to everybody was really an important part. And doing things in a controlled environment really helped that, if I'm going to a race and it's open tire, I mean, I remember the early days of touring car back in the greatest days with the TC3 and stuff like that. I'd go to a touring car race and it was open tire.
Build your own.
Forget about it. It was crazy, the amount of tires that you needed and stuff like that. So then we started doing some control tire racing in America, and that really helped. At my hobby shop, I had Trackside Hobbies in America where we did touring car racing. We started using control tires, and it really helped because it just, I don't want to say level the playing field, just made it more affordable for everybody. We're going to be on the same tire as this guy, and no goofiness that you worry about and things like that. So control tire was definitely a help. Then you started, we did, back in early days, we had checkpoint motors for 19 turn, everybody had the same motors and stuff like that. And spec motors was really a big thing. We did it in America. We had to hand out stock motors and things like that back in the brush motor days, but it made it easy that everybody was on the same playing field. So I knew that was going to be something that would help the average Joe. You can go to the race, the motor, and then we started doing handout motors, fixing the gear ratio and stuff like that. So again, it simplified things, not so much for us and, Uwe,
technical,
organize all the motors and things like that, so from an organized standpoint, it made it far more difficult. But if we keep talking to what has made the ETS succeed through the years, I think the control categories have helped. Then we started getting technology advanced. We started getting relationship with speed controller companies like Hobbywing and stuff like that, where it really all makes it, really simplified for the racer, more affordable for the racer. And I think in the end, that's what another piece of the puzzle that makes it more enjoyable to go to an ETS.
I think that's a really cool introduction, a really nice sort of summary of where ETS has kind of come from. I think now is a good time if we just take a quick break, and we'll come back and talk a bit more about your personal views of the ETS and what you've seen over the years. So stay with us, everyone. We're back in a minute.
See you soon.
This is the Bent Chassis Podcast. And now, a bit more from a cut price Scotty, that's Oli Meggitt, and a cut price Tottenham supporter, that is Martin Southall. Over to you, boys.
So we're going to focus a bit more now on Scotty at ETS. And the first question I've got is their long days. I've seen you there at the track at 7 a.m, and you're commentating up until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. So for Fridays and Saturdays, because they're pretty much the two main stacked days, how do you manage to keep all that energy and take that into, what you bring to the finals on the Sunday?
I call Oli Meggitt scoring and timing. I don't know. I love what I do, and it's not work to me because I love the hobby so much, and I think that helps. yeah, blah, blah, blah for 14, 15 hours, as Oli knows, that's not an easy task. But I think because I love the hobby so much and I love the racing and I love seeing everybody and what Oli and I do, if it makes the people enjoy the hobby more, I think that motivates us, inspires us, gives us energy, things like that to do it. But it's the days get long, but I truly, after all these years, I still do enjoy it. I pinch myself every time I'm going to a race, and last week I was in Malaysia doing a race, and next week I'm going to be where we're going to be in Amsterdam, and it's amazing that the RC hobby toy cars has been able to take me around the world, and I still enjoy what I do, and I think that helps motivate me and pushes me to get through those long 14, 50-hour days.
Yeah, it's a really strange feeling, and people ask me that. I've just come back from ENS last weekend as we're recording this at the moment. Same sort of questions I get asked. Well, it's like, how do you do this for the whole day? And ENS days aren't quite as long as ETS days, but we've got the noise of all the nitro engines running 12 hours, 14 hours a day as well. So that's an extra layer for it. And yeah, I think it's just about actually enjoying what we're doing. And for me, the finals naturally create the excitement as well, because it builds up to a race, and whether it's an A final or a G final, it means something to people on the track, and trying to bring that, you want to bring that excitement to them as well. And I know from racing, when you're announcing, it doesn't matter what final I'm in or what race I'm in. One of the things that everyone has always said is that you treat every race as if it's the A final, and that sort of bring that same kind of energy to it. And I think that's really, really important. That's something that I always try and do as well, because it's what matters to all the racers out there.
I think the biggest skill you're having there is nuance in those races where there's 10 cars and they're all about a second and a half apart on a big track and nothing's happening, but you're still trying to make it exciting and interesting. That's a skill.
I learned early in my career of doing this that everything what Oli just said, the guys in the J final, that's their A final. And their name might not be, Ronald and Mark and, Victor and all these guys, you know what I mean? But that's their moment. They spent their own money. They're not factory sponsored. So I've always tried to give 110% for those guys, just like, we do for the A mains. And I'm a racer. Before I got into the profession, I was a racer. And it really was disappointing to hear other announcers just kind of phone it in when it's a Z main out there. It's on the tone, finish the lap you're on. They don't put their heart into it. But as soon as the factory guys get up there, then they're up standing, paying attention and things like that. And it was really disappointing because, as I said, the guys in the lower mains, they're the ones that pay their own money, take the time off from work to come to enjoy their hobby. And I think we owe them that out of respect to those guys to give 110% and make their event as exciting as we can for what we do. I think it's important.
As a J driver final, thank you.
Hey, I'm right with you a lot of times, for sure. That happens, but you just, whatever main you're in, I tell people.
Yeah.
Somebody says, I only made the G final. Well, go out and win it. Do the best you can and have fun. That's what the cards you were dealt this weekend, and make the most of it. Have fun.
For sure. Oli.
I kind of had that's the really nice side of what we do, and certainly what you do in ETS. There are tough moments as well, I suppose, through ETS, both at the races and through just the history, if you look back on it now. So what to you has been would you say is the toughest part of ETS, or has been the toughest part for you at some point in the past?
That's easy. The officiating. That is what has changed massively in our hobby. If we rewind 10, 15 years, these guys were paid sponsored drivers. And our industry has changed a lot about paid in drivers. These guys used to get X amount per race. And whether they win or lost, they were still getting their money.
Mm-hmm.
But our industry has changed a lot when it comes to sponsor drivers. So now they get paid less per month, but now they get more bonuses if they win. And if the ETS has become a big thing now, a win is not only a trophy, it's money on the table for these guys, and these guys have families now. So the officiating side is the only part, I guess it's fair to say, that I don't like about my job is, and Oli, I'm sure you're the same way, is we have to make a decision instant. A second, that's too long. We have to make a decision in a millisecond, whether this guy was too aggressive, or did he chop down on this guy, or, you know, did he cut the track? Did he come off the racing line? And there's so many things. You have to make a decision right away. And it doesn't only affect a position or a win or a loss. It affects the guy's livelihood. And we're not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. And most of the guys get that. We do the best we can. We're only human. You know, there's only one guy up there that's perfect. So most of the guys get that. They might be mad at us and be very upset at the decision we make. But in the end, after the cool down moment, most of the guys understand whether we're right or wrong. And I'll be the first to say I was wrong. That's what can I do? You can be mad at me and angry at me because of the mistake I made. But I think people still respect what we have to do in that split moment. So the only thing I don't like about what I do is the officiating side. It's changed a lot through the years, and not necessarily for the better. And it's made it more challenging to do what we do.
Yeah, and you mentioned that how important ETS obviously is to drivers and teams, and you know that's a huge part of it. And yeah, those moments where we have to make those calls can be polarizing for drivers, spectators, fans, whatever it is as well. Do you think those rivalries are a good thing for RC at the moment? Do you think it gives us opportunity to tell stories, or is it maybe driving more negativity sometimes, which isn't always a good thing?
To the keyboard kings and queens on the internet, you know, that have their opinion, that have never been to an ETS race, for them, you know, they love it. I think, and I say this proudly, is that I think we've built a feeling of the family in the ETS, and the rivalries are good. Mm-hmm. And they're hardcore. You know, when you look at all these guys of, you know, Alex and Mark and Mikhail and Ronald and Christopher Kropp and, you know, all the guys way back, you know, Fabulous Freddie Sudoff and all those guys that used to be, you know, hardcore racing. They want to win, and they do everything they can. And if there's an incident on the track, they'll have anger and dismay towards each other. But when they walk off the driver's stand and they cool down and everything, they're still, I think, respect each other. I think they're still friends and obviously competitors. But I think the rivalry is still very good, and there's not many behind the scenes negative rivalries. There's some, of course, but I think in all, the people that race in the ETS have a respect for what we've built up through the years, and I think that in many ways transcends any hatred or things like that people would have. We try to keep it at a professional and fun level, but I think the rivalries are good.
So the night is always darkest just before the dawn. So the next question we'll go straight across to the positives, of course. And it's kind of a double-edged one, this one. What are your personal highlights of the ETS? And big congratulations for this, by the way, for its 100 race year history.
Yeah, that was when we had the 100th race there in Vienna. That was I never thought about it. Uwe never thought about it. And I think it was, I could be wrong, David Airbar, I think, pointed it out, if that's correct, I think. So tip of the hat to David for being a statistician and having all that. But if you think about 100 of anything that you do is pretty amazing, especially when you're only doing 5 or 6 per year. It was, that's a milestone. I'm sure, we never thought about, but it's, the faces that have come through and have been part. And I think we've, again, back to that family vibe that we've always tried to make part. I think that's what's got us to where it is. Focusing on the fun, focusing on the average guys as much as the pros. I think that's all kind of the formula that has made it work. Yeah. And for sure, everybody on the ETS is, so proud of it. And, hitting a milestone like 100 was pretty historic in our industry. And it's pretty exciting for sure, and a proud moment for all of us, behind the scenes on the ETS. It's pretty amazing.
So that is the.
Go on, Martin.
I was just going to say, obviously, because we just really spent quite a bit of time talking about what a phenomenal achievement that was. So obviously, that is one of your personal highlights, I'd imagine, being there. But have you got any others that really stand out in your mind as that was pivotal, or a moment in history?
Probably the greatest is watching the young kids progress through. Yeah. When they start young, like Mikhail, when he first started, remember seeing him in Poland running the hobby division. We had TT01 cars, and plastic is fantastic kind of cars, and he grew to be where he is today. Or one kid, Oliver Haverneck, that kid is, we watched him grow through the years, and now every time I see him, and I'm there's a bit of pride in me, because our series and things like that have given them growth and a chance to enjoy the hobby more. And it's watching these young kids grow up into the hobby to become the amazing talented drivers they are. I think that's no doubt the highlight for me and what I do, and being half owner of the ETS, is watching this progression of the youth in our hobby. And the youth are the future of anything, whether it be bowling or archery or whatever. The youth are the key, and I've always had a special place for kids. Anybody that's been to ETS knows I'll stop the program for a kid. I don't care what the time schedule is. It doesn't matter. If it's, a big kid like you and I, sorry about your luck. You know what I mean? But if you're a kid, I don't care. Somebody can be angry about it that we're behind timetable, but because they're the future, and I think we need to focus on them. So for sure, the greatest highlight is watching the kids that have succeeded through the years of this hobby.
So with the ETS kind of having been to so many different tracks, locations, venues, countries, is there anything from that list that sort of stands out to you, or you mark on your calendar as, I'm really looking forward to that one, or you think back in the past and go, I really loved it when we went to that track or that country?
Boy, that's a tough one, Ollie. We've been blessed to go to so many amazing places. I mean, we've been everywhere from Italy to Hungary to Poland to Czech Republic to everywhere. I guess it's so many amazing tracks. That's what Europe is so fortunate in a hobby world to have so many cool tracks like Luxembourg and Apeldoorn and things like that, and the Hudi Arena. When they built that, everything. I always think back. We used to go to the Czech Republic all the time. The place where they hold the Amiibo Sport race, and this hotel in the middle of nowhere, Czech Republic, and we always did it in the wintertime, and there was always snow, and it was always, this 3 hours on the road like this, and but it was a cool venue. Everybody stayed at the hotel, and it was really neat. And there's so many amazing places that we've been able to go to, and there's too many cool ones to really say this one stands out. We don't have that stuff in America. We don't have cool park-like venues like, Apeldoorn, Luxembourg, those kind of places. Luxembourg's so amazing with the Laguna Seca corkscrew, that's
incredible.
It's absolutely one of the top places, because elevation changes is I don't know if there's another one in our world of racing that has a circuit like that. Oli, you've been to a lot of places. You being in Europe, more. I mean, that is because when you stand down at the bottom, there's 2 meters, to the top, maybe 2.5 meters up there. So that is probably one of the most iconic tracks in our world of racing. And, it's always cool to go to that one. And there's just so many that have put on great races, made for great memories, and, got us to go to some, new places. I remember when we went to Hungary, we stayed in this hotel. It was an old bar, and it was dark and dingy, and everybody was smoking, and I think about it, and then all of a sudden we're sitting there eating, and I hear Fleetwood Mac American music come on at the PA system, when you're in the middle of Hungary, and it's just all those kind of memories are the amazing places we get to go, all because of the hobby. So it's I never get tired of it. It's amazing when we get to go to all these places.
Oh, that's awesome. So I think that's been really nice to get your views on where ETS is and what you love about the ETS as well. So let's take a little pause here. We'll take a short break, come back, and then we'll talk about the most important thing, which is the season we've got upcoming and the future as well.
We'll be right back.
This is the Bench Chassis Podcast. An hour of your life you're not going to get back.
All right, then. So time for us to look ahead now. 2026 season. A bit of a shake-up in the calendar. We've got Andernach and Hoodie Arena both returning after a few years out for each of those. You excited about having those back on the calendar? What do you think that's going to mean for the racing and the ETS?
Really exciting to go back to these. Andernach is a special, unique track. It's great because it's in the home city of the Reinhardt family. So logistically, it makes it really easy to have everything we need there. It's a great little tight technical track. There's a great club there, and the facilities that they have on the grounds are really good. So it makes for an easy opportunity for us to have a really good quality event. So that's cool. The Hoodie Arena. What else needs to be said about that? It's awesome. I mean, it's a beautiful facility. They get the guys that, if you've never been there, they do a factory tour where you can go and see how everything's made and how their facility is laid out. It's a fantastic opportunity, and it's great. It's an outdoor track, but it's indoor, so you can leave all your stuff up every night. You don't have to tear everything down and pack it up and take it back to the hotel. So it's that's not a thought about thing by a lot, but for me as a racer, it's nice when I don't have to pack things every time. And so that's a cool side that people don't think about. And the track is awesome. Great driver stand. They got food on site, so it's great to be going back to those two. And we always have to try to cycle through. We don't want to go to the same tracks all the time, and it's tough because there's venues that you want to go to that are just iconic and make for great racing, but we have to just cycle some things through. So we're excited to go back to Andernach and Hoodie Arena this year.
If I can just ask a question about that, because it always looks like the same tables and stuff that are there. So do you haul the equipment from each of the mainland venues, or is it hired locally?
It depends which one. A lot of times we hire it just locally from local rental place, for the tables and chairs and stuff like that, which is quite an endeavor that Uwe has to kind of organize and everything. But try to use whatever's local there, and a lot of places in Europe have the same kind of tables and chairs and stuff like that. Then you go to a place like Hoodie's got everything set there, so that makes it logistically much easier also.
Well, logistics are a nightmare.
Yes they are.
Okay, so what message would you like to give to anyone thinking about coming to do ETS this season?
Obviously, you're welcome to join us. We invite everybody to come and be part. If you race locally, I'm sure some of your mates, your buddies have been to one, and hopefully they say great things about it. But all the things that we've talked about here in the last 45 minutes, an hour, or whatever, all the reasons that we hope you would try to come and join us. It's all about the fun of the hobby, and Are you going to go to the first time and stand on top of the box of the A main? That's a long shot. But if you can come and learn something, make some new friends, get to meet some of the rock stars and ask them questions or get your body signed by them or take a picture, things like that. That's all part of the experience that the ETS is. Great racing, great camaraderie, friendship. We'll end up having, 20 nations there or whatever it ends up being from, all over Europe. And sometimes, Japanese drivers show up or American guys come and, you meet people that share the same passion that we all do for the hobby, but you get to meet them at an event like the ETS, and we invite you to come and join. You guys being in the UK, I think about, in early years, there's just a couple guys, and then, Mark and all you guys, Burgess is, get his group together, and, you guys, and it just kind of, it flows and it builds because these guys, oh man, I went there and had a great time. Well, how'd you do? Well, I was in the Z main, but I still want to go back because it was a good time, and, it was a good atmosphere and exciting. You get to watch the best of the best. So all those pieces really, are what we're proud of what the ETS has become, and why we want people to come and experience it even for a first time.
And then put yourself up on top of that announcer's booth like you're going to in probably when people are watching this, it's going to be a few days' time or something like that, going to the first race. What are your thoughts? What are your hopes for the season ahead? What are you looking forward to the most?
Good weather. That's the number one. I'm planting some trees here so we can get Mother Nature, on our side. So for the outdoor venue is good weather. That's banking. Our number one hope. Yes, exactly. To get as many new first timers to come to ETS to experience what we've all talked about. That gives me personally a lot of great pride when we have new people that come and share their experience and enjoy it. So we hope we get lots of first timers and just great racing again. That's normally the case, but I still have hopes and ambitions that everything sorts out and we don't have to make many refereeing calls and things like that. And we have some exciting races and great passes and wonderful venues, and just keep the tradition of the ETS family going.
So if we were looking further out into the future, would there be any, you probably discussed it before, or are there other countries that you would maybe look to try and go to or consider in the future, or maybe expanding the calendar? I know obviously that puts a strain on the teams that organise it all and stuff like that, but being as popular as it is, are these things that you've discussed and considered?
Oh, there always is. I don't think we can expand the calendar more, just because the stress and on the logistics side to be able to add another one to the calendar, of the dates that you can hold where it's outdoor season, indoor. Having indoor races is the hardest thing for an organizer. You guys know firsthand on what it takes to organize an indoor race. So, and amplify that tenfold if you're not local, and you have to find a club to do it and things like that. So the logistics of doing another indoor race are almost prohibitive nowadays with the cost and the organized stuff like that. So then to expand it to another outdoor track is even harder because of the seasons and the weather and stuff like that. So I think we're kind of maxed out on as many races as we can have. I want to go to France. We've never held the ETS in France. I really would love to do it. I know it's, it can be tough, weather-wise from the north of France to the south and stuff like that, but I'd love to go to France and do an ETS race. That's a personal. We've been so many other places. We've been to Gran Canaria in Spain. I know there's a new track opening up maybe in Madrid. I could be wrong. I thought there's a new track somewhere in Spain, so maybe that's a future location. But coming right to mind, I would love to go to France and do a race. I don't know if there's any venues that would really work for us or things like that logistically wise, but yeah, I would love to be able to go to France and do a race. And UK, I'd love to go to the UK and do a race. That would be awesome to be able to do it. But those are my hopes and dreams for future locations sometimes.
And it's so hard, and everyone always asks that sort of question. Always, people always ask us as well around, can you get the ETS guys to think about coming to the UK? And there's so many things to think about. It's not just about having a track and facility. It's then, a facility that's going to have to hold 200, 300 plus entries as well, and the whole venue that's got the infrastructure to support that with canteen, toilets, whatever else, pit space, car parking space. I know from working with the guys in Eigen the last couple of years, how much effort that takes. Right, okay, we've got to get enough parking for 200 cars there. That's, find another field that's next to the track that we can use. Having the, the accessibility. So it's not an easy task. And then you're absolutely right. You've got to find a club that's willing and is really capable to actually support that and be able to hold those events. So it's always nice to go to new venues, but the size of an ETS makes it quite difficult to find that right place that you can actually go to as well.
It's very true, and you hit on some things that most people don't think about. If you got an amazing track, the track is awesome. Oh, we race there all the time. Yeah, you race there with 40 or 50 guys. That's it, But they don't have the toilets. They don't have the pit tables. They don't have enough electricity for that many people. So all that on the organizing side, okay, you got to rent a generator and things like that, And, a big generator to rent for, 200, 300 entries, that's a couple thousand euros or whatever to do. Yeah. So all those things add up that make the tracks that we can go to, they kind of funnel down to not as many as there are out there, because the infrastructure needs to be there to be able to do it. So that makes it challenging for sure. And many of the great tracks they have in the UK there, they don't have all that infrastructure. And then you got to look at weather. I'm not picking on UK, but I heard a story that it has rained in the UK somewhere every day this year. I just heard that. I don't know if it's true or not. So that's another thing. I know locally they run in the wet, but we can't do that. That always comes up. Why don't you run in the rain like we do in Europe? Yes, at the sanctioning they do, but since we have handout spec motors, speed controllers, we can't do that. We can't run in the rain. So that makes it a challenge. So those are all the things that we do, but we still hope someday there. But that's my take on places I hope to go to in the future.
Well, it's been absolutely awesome talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time. And I think we're all sitting here really excited about the 2026 season, race number 101 kicking things off in Apeldoorn. And if we've got our timings right, when we actually get this published, everyone should be probably packing or maybe even thinking about getting on the road to Apeldoorn. So hopefully, if you are listening to this, you've enjoyed this, and you're going to get to certainly see Scotty at the race and go and shake his hand and say thank you to all the effort you've put into ETS over the years. And from our side, we've really appreciated being part of it and having the opportunities to, as you say, come to all these exciting places, race all these exciting tracks with a great bunch of people and have some fun along the way. So that's been absolutely awesome. Martin?
It's difficult to follow that really, but a huge thank you for being here today. Inspirational to say the least. What's been presented and what we've discussed here today is the forefront of what's driven us forward in the UK, and I'm proud of what we've done as our series as well. And I could honestly say, when we look through that, there is the DNA of ETS in there, which has helped us elevate the offering that we have and what we present out. So, a big thank you to you, Scotty, and I will see you at Apeldoorn. Oli won't, so you can give me a high five as well while we're there as well. But a big thank you for being here with us today, Scotty.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. I love what you guys do, and your passion for the hobby comes across in each of your shows that you do, and I'm really excited to be able to share a little bit of the history and my take on what ETS and it's. I feel bad sometimes that I'm a lot of ways the face of the ETS, but it's there's a lot of people in the background that make it work, and Uwe obviously puts in so much time into it, and Patrick and Tony and the ladies that are always there, helping us. There's a great team that has gotten us where it is. It's not just Uwe and I, and it's something we're proud of. Like you said, Oli, 101 in Apeldoorn. That's kind of crazy going to be kicking off. But Apeldoorn is a great place, great people, a great club. a great atmosphere, and we're excited to kick off another season. And as you said, 101st ETS race. We're looking forward to it. So thanks for asking me to be on here for a little look back and a little look forward about ETS. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks again, Scotty, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank
From
you.
us.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
Bye.
Bye. See you next time.
Fast laps, clean lines, that's how we go. Thanks for tuning in to the Bench Chassis on Road podcast show.
Oh, I got somebody at the door here, so that's I didn't expect it because
We'll just take a quick break there.
Yeah. Can we?
Yeah, let's
Is this
pause
a
it there.
break pod?
We can edit
Yeah,
that.
we'll do that.
We'll edit- That's in the outro reel.
Yeah,
And pause. Go get the door. Go get the door.
Live TV, right?
Yep, go for it.
Go.